She was a genius student of Ling Yun Academy. How could she be frightened by something like this? However, before she even finished, the zombie suddenly opened its eyes and grabbed her ankle. Ah! It came back to life? She didn't anticipate this at all. After all, she didn't know anything that could suddenly come back to life. Xu Zixin's character lost balance and fell onto the ground. She did everything she could to kick that zombie away, but it was too strong. She struggled for a while but couldn't free herself, so she shot at the zombie. Yet it wouldn't die. Instead, it went crazy and bit her ankle. This time around, Xu Zixin was really shaken up. She really wasn't a coward, nor someone who had never seen blood. The truth was that even special agents who had lived through countless wars would be startled by this scene in front of them. Why couldn't she kill it? It was horrific. How did she not see how strong and powerful it was? Am I supposed to do nothing while being eaten by this monster? She clenched down her teeth and felt a speck of despair. She even felt like she was going to die. She underestimated herself. Shoot its brain with your gun. Just then, a voice sounded out from behind her. Huh? She paused for a second. Then, right before the zombie was about to bite into her calves, she quickly fired her gun. Bam, bam, bam! Countless bullets shot right into the zombie's forehead as it finally stopped what it was doing. Then, with a mournful cry, it fell right onto the floor. That's why I think girls shouldn't play these bloody and violent games. After all, if you don't court death, death won't knock on your door. Like the system, Fang Qi was calm and righteous. He watched as Xu Zixin exited the VR mode beside him. She looked at him with a complicated expression on her face. Fang Qi looked right into her eyes and said with all seriousness, "You're welcome." Where did he get the audacity to say, "You're welcome"? Talk about a face that is as thick as the city walls. Xu Zixin looked at him with anger and amusement. Even if she did feel a tiny speck of gratitude, everything happened because she was playing Fang Qi's stupid game. At this thought, Xu Zixin glared at him while Fang Qi shrugged innocently. Xu Zixin thought, wasn't I just complaining how nothing in Jiuhua City interests me? Although this game was at times terrifying, she now had ways to deal with those monsters. Therefore, the horror vanished and was quickly replaced with excitement. At the same time, she felt her bottleneck loosening, up a little under the nerve-wracking battle just now. She was shocked. She paid a great price to cultivate at the martial arts tower at Ling Yun Academy, but didn't reach any breakthroughs. How did her bottleneck loosen up as soon as she played this game for a few minutes? How was that possible? Upon seeing Fang Qi falling silent and turning his attention back to his game, she decided to go back to her game as well and continue her Resident Evil adventure. She wanted to see if she could reach a new breakthrough. Xu Zixin had a feeling that this game was a giant treasure hunt, just waiting for her to discover. As she kept playing, she used the method Fang Qi taught her and destroyed the heads of a few zombies in a row. Slowly, that initial fright disappeared and was replaced by an enormous sense of achievement and stimulation that only came from intense adventure-seeking. Before playing this game, she didn't think that any adventure this exhilarating existed. This game was a cross-era masterpiece. Most importantly, this game gave her more than an exciting new adventure. Even the game plot was extremely interesting. What will be my fate in this game? Will I be able to find my teammates? The plot in Resident Evil 1 was simple and easy to understand. This was a search and rescue mission where the player acted as a rescuer, so he or she could quickly immerse themselves into the game plot. As an outstanding young warrior, she was a courageous woman. After the initial shock, her rebellious side was slowly evoked. The plot was simple, yet it was shrouded in endless mystery. It drew her in, stimulating her urge to explore. What is hidden inside the mansion? What is the biochemical crisis? She wanted to solve all these questions. Therefore, she couldn't wait any longer and completely forgot that she thought Fang Qi was a swindler just moments ago. Instead, she fell into Jill's role and declared, I will find the truth behind this incident. Sir, there are people who want to play. A few people suddenly barged in. Fang Qi glanced over and immediately recognized them. It was Song Qingfeng, Lin Xiao, and Shu Luo. Why are you here again? Fang Qi immediately burst out in laughter. You've played for 6 hours already. You can't play anymore. Do. Shop owners these days all ask why customers come. It's fine if owners don't stand up to greet customers, but why would they ask, why are you here? Song Qingfeng's face darkened. Sir, why would you say something like that? We're not playing! Fang Qi then saw 2 other rich young men walk through the door, and Lin Xiao pointed at them. We are getting more people to come. And play, what do you think? Can we play for a few more hours? You 3, a long-faced young master said. Is a shop as small as this really as amazing as you say it is? Then he looked around at the shop interior. Sure, this place was clean, but there wasn't anything special about it. You said you can play as the main character of a novel? The 2 young men asked suspiciously. This place isn't that big. Can we even fight in here? You'll see. Don't be frightened when you do. Lin Xiao and Shu Luo were still mesmerized by their experiences this morning and said in a low voice, Cultivator? Cultivator? The 2 young men became even more suspicious at what Lin Xiao and Shu Luo said. The shop owner doesn't look like a cultivator at all. What do they mean by that? Is this a cultivator's creation here? A cultivator's creation was an extremely rare object. The truth was, most spiritual artifacts sold in the city were inferior goods modeled after real artifacts. Therefore, genuine cultivator creations were extremely rare. This was because there were countless talented potential warriors in this world, but little to none were talented or qualified enough to become cultivators. In Dajin, being connected to a cultivator in any way would command respect. I made a bet with Qingfeng. He loses if I can kill that zombie monster, a younger boy said. I don't care how horrifying the monster is, I want to beat it first. Fang Qi looked at the group of people in front of him and covered his forehead in exasperation. Should I put up a no minors sign outside? You have a point. The long-faced man chimed in. I made a bet with Qingfeng too. If I kill a zombie, he'll give me his icy star sword. None of them cared much about money, so they walked in and sat down, ready to play the game. Song Qingfeng and the others, on the other hand, sat behind them as they helped their friends to start the game. As soon as they started playing, the realistic experience immediately attracted their attention. After watching the beginning animation, they finally understood what Song Qingfeng and the others meant by playing as the main character of a novel. They never imagined that they could be the main character. Qingfeng, why didn't you tell us something this good existed earlier? Their breathing became rapid since they had never played such an amazing game. They were quickly led into the mansion. The creepy environment, along with the dimmed lights, gave the mansion an oppressive ambiance. Soon they both encountered the first zombie. Since the players could only see the zombie's back, most first-timers would assume that it was a survivor. Therefore, they both walked up to the zombie, wanting to obtain information about this mansion. 2. Both their surprises, a horrific, disgusting, rotten face appeared before them. Then it charged up to them. Ah! 2 shrieks immediately echoed within Fang Qi's internet cafe. Although Song Qingfeng warned them about how gross the zombies looked, they were still left in shock. One of the players' arm was bitten, and he ran away. The other was left unharmed but was still dumbstruck by what he saw. Ping is out. Lin Xiao, who sat behind the younger boy, laughed upon seeing what happened. Then, the other young man ran back into the lobby and realized that his other teammates, who used to be there, had disappeared. Suddenly, he noticed a scratch, not too big or too small, on his arm. The wound was already turning black. Anyone who had eyes could see that it wasn't just an ordinary injury. I guess Li Shi's out as well. Shu Luo burst out in laughter upon seeing that his friends lost less than 15 minutes into the game. They were even worse than him this morning. He pointed at them and said, "We already told you that the zombies' claws are poisonous. How can you still be so reckless?" They both looked down, looking dejected. "We didn't know that the monsters you were talking about used to be humans." The long-faced young man's name was Li Shi. Since his character wasn't so heavily injured, he said with determination, "Even if I die, I'm going to make that monster die with me." Then he raised his hand and charged towards the zombie. Because he went all out and wasn't scared of infections, he quickly beat the zombie up until it fell to the ground. Then he clapped his hands proudly and said, "The monster only knows how to sneak attack. It's not as scary as you said it was, Ching Feng." Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao and Shu Luo looked at each other and smiled. If the player didn't destroy the zombie's head, it would come back to life and go berserk. That was the most horrifying part. As expected, the zombie quickly stood up from the floor, its body turned red, and its face became twisted. "What's happening?" Li Shi couldn't help but shriek in surprise. Soon the exhausted Li Shi died under the claws of the zombie. Only then did he turn around and yell, "How is that possible? This thing is unkillable." They finally began to realize the charm of the game. After all, in real life, no one could put their lives at risk so carefreely, expecting to come back to life after they died. It simply wasn't something that one could experience. But wasn't this game a little too hard? How can you make a bet with us on a monster that can't be killed? Don't the three of you know any better? Li Shi said, a little unhappily. Lin Xiao looked at him arrogantly with his head high up in the air. "How can it be killed? We killed quite a few." "You killed quite a few," Li Shi sneered. "I used the Li family's finger sword technique just now and smashed its chest. However, the monster didn't die. Lin Xiao, why don't you tell me how you killed so many?" Lin Xiao isn't the only one who killed quite a few zombies. Shu Luo grinned. "I killed some too, and even Qing Feng." He pointed at Song Qing Feng, who was sitting next to him, and continued, "He killed more than 10. How is that possible?" Both Ping and Li Shi looked at their friends in shock. How did they kill so many monsters? The one they just encountered was so hard to fight off. Lin Xiao and Shu Luo enjoyed their shock and slight admiration and smiled. "Of course it's possible. Why else do you think your ranking is so much lower than ours in today's examinations?" "How did the three of you kill so many zombies?" Li Si asked them. "What's the key to success?" Upon seeing how anxious Li Si looked, Lin Xiao and Shu Luo smiled at each other and asked, "Of course there is a key to success. Do you want to know?" Li Shi's expression immediately filled with anticipation as he continued, "When we come tomorrow." "Of course I'm buying," Li Shi immediately said. Only then did Lin Xiao nod in satisfaction, proud to have gotten what he wanted. He smiled and said, "Smash its head." "Smash its head?" Li Shi's eyes rolled around and he asked, "That monster's weak spot is its head?" Therefore, he immediately went back to the game and tried. To his surprise, the zombie no longer came back to life after its head was smashed. "How did you find this out?" Li Shi was filled with admiration. "I never even thought of this method." Faced with their friend's admiration, the three people in the back laughed arrogantly. A way to kill the monsters meant an extra layer of security when exploring this weird world. The two of them went back to playing and could barely stop. However, the two of them were such newbies that Song Qing Feng and the others felt like they played much better. Therefore, after watching Li Shi and Ping for a while, they became bored and turned their attention away from them, glancing around with interest. Chakati. Xiao suddenly saw Shu Zixin sitting beside him and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "A girl is playing this as well?" Then he looked up into her screen as if he just discovered a new continent. "Qing Feng Luo, come take a look. She chose Jill." What was even more shocking was that Jill, controlled by this girl, accidentally activated the trap inside the room as she pulled out her shotgun. Before anything happened to her, her teammate, Barry Burton, quickly kicked open the door and saved her from death. What the fuck? How do you have teammates who help you? They were all surprised. They've been playing for a long time, but none of them had any teammates to help them. How does she already have a teammate? They had to admit that Resident Evil 1 was gentler to women. Not only was Jill given a gun at the very beginning, but she also had a device that could unlock doors and locks. Therefore, she could obtain a lot of bullets from all around the mansion. Moreover, her teammate Barry would occasionally come to help. So playing as Jill was slightly easier than playing as Chris. The only bad thing about Jill was that she had fewer health points, and later on in the game, she would die easier if she didn't pay attention. The other two froze upon seeing this scene as well. That's too awesome! Then, Lin Xiao immediately asked Xu Zixin, Miss, could you please tell us how you picked this character? Xu Zixin had never played such a fun game. Although it was indeed somewhat scary, at least she had teammates. Thanks to Barry, she quickly learned how to kill zombies and naturally progressed faster than Song Qingfeng and the others. She was lost in the game when she heard someone calling her. Upon turning around, she saw 3 men watching her from behind. Why? Would people watch me play a game? Why are they asking me how to pick this character? Are there other characters? Confused, she replied. It was the first option in the beginning. Isn't the first option, Chris? The 3 of them were immediately dumbfounded. No. Xu Zixin replied, My first option was Jill. What? Xu Luo's face fell. Why was his first choice Chris but her first choice Jill? Is it because we're men? Song Qingfeng asked, as the 3 looked at each other, the other 2, just as speechless as he was. Maybe it really is because of that. It was normal for men to play male characters and women to play female characters, but why were women getting better treatment than men? I have no idea then. I'm going to go back to playing now. All 3 of them were interested to see a player using Jill. Therefore, they began watching Xu Zixin as she played. Miss, there's ammunition below that table. That drawer. There's a clue in that drawer. There's a key there. Thanks to the guy's hints, Xu Zixin found countless treasures here and there, causing her to have good impressions of the 3 of them. I didn't expect that the 3 of you would know so much, she said. Of course, Qingfeng has already passed many levels. That's impressive, Xu Zixin replied and nodded. She was liking the game more and more. Not only was it fun, but it also helped her train. She had a feeling that if she kept playing, she would soon reach a breakthrough. Pleased with the fact that they could help out new players, Song Qingfeng and the others felt like powerful senior warriors. At that time, a voice suddenly came from the other side. Qingfeng, come see what the shop owner is fighting against. It's different from the monsters we've been fighting with. The owner? Upon hearing this voice, they realized that although the owner played all day as well, they've never gone to see him in action. How well does he play? At this thought, everyone turned around to glance at Fang Qi's screen. It was better. If they didn't, because what they saw was horrifying beyond words. Song Qingfeng saw a horrendous-looking mutated half-human monster with scales all over its body. It also had long and sharp claws. What is that? He originally thought that zombies alone were terrifying enough. Who knew that there would be other monsters? This monster was so much scarier than the zombies. Didn't Qingfeng say that the strongest monster in the game was the zombie dog? What's this? That 13 or 14-year-old young boy pointed at Fang Qi's screen and asked in befuddlement, Don't speak! Song Qingfeng's expression changed drastically upon seeing what was on Fang Qi's screen. Have they been playing the same game? His face dimmed. He could tell just by looking at the screen that this monster wasn't easy to kill. Then they quickly noticed that all Fang Qi had in his hand was a dagger. Upon seeing this, Song Qingfeng and the others all froze. Why would he only use a dagger? Fang Qi's character bent down and concentrated all his attention on the monster in front of him. One couldn't rush when fighting a hunter. Position, dodging, and attacking were important. Although daggers were capable of gravely injuring hunters, it was still extremely difficult to kill them with just a dagger. Fang Chi familiarized himself with the hunter's techniques through numerous battles. This way, he soon understood its most frequent attacks, giving himself a higher probability of killing it. "Ching Feng!" Lin Xiao shouted. "Don't tell me that we have to fight monsters like this in the future!" "That's a possibility. Let's watch how the owner plays." Song Qingfeng's expression grew even gloomier, feeling the hairs stand up on his arms. The scale-covered monster looked scarier by the second. It looked like a tailless dinosaur that was standing up, emitting a dangerous aura. It looked like an experienced and brutal predator, icily glaring at the target in front of it. Ordinary zombies were powerful enough, and zombie dogs were also seen as a nightmare to these people. None of them dared to be reckless when faced with these monsters. They all thought the scariest monsters in the mansion were the zombies or zombie dogs, but there were also monsters like the one in front of him. In Song Qingfeng's point of view, this wasn't a monster that could be defeated with a dagger. However, that was exactly what Fang Chi was doing right now. All he wanted to know right now was how Fang Chi was going to kill that thing. Suddenly, the hunter jumped up into the air, and its giant body blew up a gust of wind, landing in front of Fang Chi in the blink of an eye. "It's so fast!" the people behind Fang Chi exclaimed. "Does it only appear to be strong, but is actually weak?" No. The hunter's speed and the wind it swept up alone embodied extreme power. Plus, those thick claws made the others wonder what would happen if the player was scratched by them. Would they be cut into halves almost immediately? Everyone stopped, breathing as they watched the scene unfold in front of them. Suddenly, Fang Chi moved as well. His center of gravity was already low to begin with. Then he suddenly bent down even lower. The others watched as he pierced his sharp dagger upward as hard as he could. It was such an ingenious strike. The hunter seemed to have fallen into the path of his dagger. When the two clashed together, the dagger easily split the monster's stomach open. After this exchange, Fang Chi successfully injured the hunter. However, the hunter wasn't so easy to kill. Without thinking, Fang Chi rolled off to the side. He stood in a position that he spent a long time choosing. When he was fighting the hunter just now, he was standing near the door of a side foyer. The corridors in the mansion were extremely narrow, so much so that the hunter's big and tall body could fill up an entire hallway. Therefore, fighting in the hall was extremely disadvantageous to him. Then, Fang Chi somersaulted onto the side foyer. The hunter's injuries began to bleed, obviously provoking its ferocious urge to kill. Upon seeing Fang Chi going into the side foyer, it followed closely behind. Scratching, pouncing, tearing, and biting were the natural instincts of the hunter. Everyone was absorbed in the fight as they watched intently, no one daring to make a single noise. Fang Chi carefully avoided its chase. The hunter's speed was extremely fast, and its attacks were sharp and precise. After countless years, this had become its most refined method of chasing down prey. It was simple, swift, and effective. However, Fang Chi had battled the hunter for so long that he had gotten used to its attack patterns. The hunter charged up to Fang Chi, trying to grab him with its strong claws. If he was caught by the hunter's muscular arms, the hunter would bite off his neck in the blink of an eye. Yet, countless battles and intense practice helped Fang Chi remember all of the hunter's attacks. Moreover, he was now so familiar with its attacks that he could predict them before they even happened. Granted that the hunter's speed was fast, it lacked the agility of the licker, which was beyond a human's reaction speed. Thanks to practice, he perfectly predicted how and where the hunter was going to attack him from, and thus swiftly moved off to the side, avoiding its claws. The spacious side foyer gave him enough room to circumvent the hunter's face-to-face attacks. Approaching from behind was the most advantageous position for a hunter, whose body was massively built. Before it had the chance to attack Fang Chi, from behind, Fang Chi circled behind it and immediately choked its neck. Then, as if he had practiced his next move 1,000,000 times, the dagger was accurately stabbed into its forehead. Pish! Fresh red blood flowed out of the hunter's head along with brain matter. The hunter, who was in extreme pain, began struggling so hard that it threw Fang Chi across the room. Bang! Fang Chi's body hit the wall so hard that he left a crack on it, everyone's. Hearts sank as they saw this scene in front of them. A monster with strength of this magnitude had surpassed the capabilities of a human body by too much. Just now, it threw the player onto the wall while it was struggling. If it was attacking, normally, what would the results be? The answer was clear. The player would die for sure. Being smashed onto the wall like that made Fang Chi dizzy, and his entire body became numb. The hunter, on the other hand, headed over to him again. It walked up to Fang Chi step by step. Then, it raised its giant claws up into the air and thrashed. Down! No! The hearts of those people who were standing behind Fang Chi sank. This monster was too strong. It didn't die even after it was stabbed in the brain. They all thought that Fang Chi was going to die, no matter how good he was at this game. However, the unexpected happened. Fang Chi suddenly jumped up. Just before its claws touched him, he dodged it. At the same time, he pushed his long black dagger right into the hunter's throat. The hunter's claws landed on the wall that Fang Chi was lying against just now, smashing it into pieces. However, its muddy pupils finally dimmed. Its giant body crashed onto the floor as if nothing was supporting it. It died? Everyone looked at Fang Chi's screen in disbelief. They were so shocked that they all gasped in unison. It was such a horrific monster, but Fang Chi stabbed its 3 vital points. The hunter didn't even get to unleash all of its power before going down. It was killed with 3 deadly stabs, and Fang Chi barely had any injuries on his body. How is that possible? By choosing Chris, the player would not be able to use the QE of a warrior. Therefore, if he wanted to kill these monsters, he had no choice but to use his own combat skills. Every stab was calculated precisely. Although his body was weak when compared to the hunter's, he was able to kill the monster easily through clever tactics. He didn't even have to use martial techniques. It was unbelievable. This was another form of combat. It was a delightfully stimulating battle that was as exciting to the player as it was to the audience. Just now, the new players thought that Song Ching Feng, who figured out the zombies' weakness and killed more than a dozen of them, was a genius. Now, Fang Chi was a god in their eyes. Of course, Fang Chi had his plans when he used the dagger to fight the hunter. Daggers were known as survival knives in the game. It was a close-range combat weapon, and it had an unwavering status in melee combat. It had a limited range of attack and was weak in killing. Therefore, not many players used it as a main weapon. Rather, it was something that players relied on when they had no other options. It was a way for them to show their bravery when their surroundings were beyond dangerous and they had no ammo. Yet daggers also had advantages that other weapons just didn't. There were no limits to times of use. It was simple, convenient, and didn't attract enemy attention. Moreover, daggers were extremely deadly to hunters and zombie dogs. With a shotgun, the player had to fire about 4 shots to kill the monsters. With a dagger, however, the player only had to stab 5 to 6 times to kill them. It meant that daggers were almost as harmful to hunters and zombie dogs as shotguns were. The main character in Resident Evil 2, Leon S. Kennedy, once said that, under certain circumstances, knives can be more reliable than guns. Chris was highly skilled in the use of daggers, and in the beginning, Fang Chi wasn't familiar with how to use it. But he had been trying to pass this level for a few days now, so he had been practicing his dagger skills like crazy. These 3 godlike stabs contained all the experiences he gained through countless battles with the hunter, along with a speck of luck. There are monsters as powerful as this one later in the game. Shu Zixin looked at the screen in front of Fang Chi in surprise. How did he defeat this monster without martial techniques? She thought that the owner was just an ordinary man, but that didn't seem like the case. Someone capable of opening up a shop like this was not ordinary at all. "Sir, what was that monster?" Song Ching-feng suppressed the shock in his heart and asked with a straight face, "Was that the leader of those zombies? Did it cause the human-eating incident?" "Leader?" Fang Chi smiled slightly. Just as he turned around a corner, another hunter jumped out. "Fuck!" The few of them were immediately dumbstruck. What is going on? Is that another leader? Are these monster brothers controlling this mansion? After he defeated the first hunter and was left unharmed, Fang Chi became more confident than ever. This time, he took significantly longer to kill the hunter, but the situation wasn't as dangerous. After a while, he finally defeated the second hunter. Upon seeing that the hunter didn't pose such a big threat to Fang Chi, everyone sighed in relief. These are probably the strongest monsters in the mansion, right? Nothing scarier will pop out, right? As these thoughts entered their minds, they saw Fang Chi's character pass a corridor where another hunter jumped out. Another one? What is happening? Moreover, they noticed that Fang Chi was no longer in the mansion. Rather, he was walking on a stone pathway. Is he close to the monster's nest? A hint of disbelief crept up into their heads. Are there scarier monsters down the road? What Fang Chi said next confirmed their speculations. After a while, hunters will be no more than small critters. Small critters? Did you just say that hunters are just small critters? Although the word critter didn't exist in this world, everyone still understood what it meant. Fang Chi said it so calmly and casually that it seemed like he really did think hunters were just critters. However, were they really? They seemed so powerful. Wait, sir, are you saying that the mansion is filled with monsters like these? Song Ching-feng couldn't accept this. If hunters were just critters, then the zombies they fought were probably harmless compared to what we're going to encounter down the road. No wonder the owner didn't care about their gaming progresses. Their limited scope was nothing compared to what Fang Chi had experienced. They all felt so embarrassed that their faces turned red. But, can we learn how to kill hunters from the owner? Perhaps they would be able to kill those monsters with daggers as well. At this thought, they turned their attention back to Fang Chi's screen. "Sir, does that mean 2 monsters like this will appear at the same time?" Lin Xiao asked, sending everyone into despair. 2 monsters? Fang Chi repeated as he took out a silver revolver from his backpack. The others noticed that its muzzle was almost double the size of handguns, and the barrel was significantly longer than regular handguns. As well, the icy gun didn't hold back, showing everyone how extraordinary it was. "My magnum isn't one to reason." Fang Chi smiled and pulled the trigger just as the hunter was about to pounce on him. Bang! The hunter was immediately thrown back as a bloody hole was punctured into its body. It was a frightening scene. Before the hunter could crawl up from the ground, Fang Chi shot at it again. Only then did the hunter die on the ground. "This gun!" Everyone looked at Fang Chi's gun in jealousy. The gun killed the hunter before it could even defend itself. If this was in real life, they would want to steal this treasure from Fang Chi. "Sir, what's this gun called?" "Magnum." Yes, this was the well-known Magnum from Resident Evil. Of course, when Fang Chi was young, these guns were merely called revolvers. Magnum revolvers were large-caliber pistols that used Magnum rounds. They performed like the Desert Eagles that Magnum Research produced. After firing 2 shots, with his revolver, Fang Chi quickly put it back into his bag. "Why did you put the gun away?" Lin Xiao couldn't help but ask. Why would Fang Chi risk himself by using the dagger when this gun was so powerful? I bet that the bullets are rare. Song Ching-feng frowned. When a player reached this point in the game, he or she was going to experience a bullet shortage. Song Ching-feng was right. Bullets were extremely rare, so the less he used, the better. Therefore, he didn't want to waste any unless he was in real danger. Fang Chi didn't have a choice, but to waste 2 of his magnum rounds just now because the others had distracted him. Fang Chi slaughtering the hunters with his knife shocked the others deeply. A few of them already really admired Fang Chi before, but now everyone treated him like a god. No one dared to challenge him. Therefore, they all shut their mouths and watched quietly from behind. As Fang Chi progressed further, he encountered monsters more frequently, scaring his audience behind him. Upon seeing hunters getting killed by Fang Chi one after another, the people watching became less scared and thought, "The owner is so strong he's not going to be in danger, right? Where did these monsters come from?" At this moment, they all wanted to know who was behind this evil conspiracy and what the main character's fate was going to be. To them, this entire game was a giant ball of mystery. Countless monsters lived in the mansion, and the bits and pieces of hints they left before they died had created something that was seemingly impossible to solve. They watched as Fang Chi utilized his immense power and strength to save one missing teammate after another, complete task after task, and get deeper into the story. Everyone felt like their blood was boiling with excitement. Fang Chi was a hero. It was such a pleasure to solve all mysteries and break through all obstacles, shattering the conspiracy into pieces. Soon, I'm going to save all my teammates and crush these enemies. The people watching behind Fang Chi thought to themselves, as they experienced a surge of emotions. They really wished that they were the one playing right now. They all thought that the search was about to end since Fang Chi was really far into the game. This made them all watch with anticipation. They wanted to know what the plot behind Resident Evil was. Furthermore, they wanted to know what the main characters and his teammates' endings were going to be. "What level is the owner at?" Lin Xiao asked quietly. "Probably around level 10. Shulo thought about it. He was level 5, so the owner had to be quite a few levels higher than he was. I think he's higher than that." Song Ching Feng shook his head and said, "He should be higher than level 10. Look, why did the owner pull out his gun?" They saw Fang Chi pausing for a second before taking out his gun from his backpack. What is the owner trying to do? All hunters could be slaughtered by Fang Chi using a dagger, so why would he use his gun all of a sudden? What else in this mansion was capable of threatening him? Zombie? Zombie dog? Of course not. Is he approaching the mastermind who is behind all of this? This mansion was filled with monsters and traps. Although countless obstacles stopped Fang Chi from finding out the conspiracy, they all had a feeling that they were approaching the truth. In the beginning, all the player had to do was to explore the area and conduct simple search and rescue, something that was basic and easy to understand. Therefore, even people like Song Ching Feng could quickly immerse themselves into the game. As the adventure continued, the player would begin to ask the following questions. Who designed this mansion? Where did these monsters come from? Why do they exist? What does the title, Resident Evil, mean? No one in the audience had any clues. That was why they were so curious and eager to find out what the truth was. Their breathing became rapid as Fang Chi seemingly became closer to finding out the mastermind behind the conspiracy. However, Fang Chi frowned as if he felt something and immediately stopped what he was doing. Then he exited the game? Why would he exit the game at a time like this? "Sir, you're not playing anymore?" Everyone looked at him, dumbstruck. How could he stop playing at this moment? He got them so riled up already. No. Fang Chi shook his head. From his expression, they could all tell that he was exhausted. He pointed at the lower right corner of his screen and said, "It's almost closing time." It seemed like he had to close on time and stop playing when business hours ended. In addition, he slept late last night and played the entire day today. It was too much for his body to handle at once. He was only at the peak of the body forging realm. Even warriors with higher levels would feel tired after battling for an extended period of time. The good thing was that he was just playing a game. If this were in real life, battling warriors who were significantly more powerful than he was at this intensity would have caused him to collapse several times already. Fang Chi knew that he wasn't at his peak no more, and that was why he drew out his gun just now. He knew that he wouldn't be able to kill another hunter, let alone the final boss. Fang Chi sighed. It seemed like the game was still energy-consuming. Closing? Everyone felt speechless upon hearing this. Already? Fang Chi pointed at the blackboard. Business hours are from 8 a.m. to midnight. It is 12 already. They glanced at the time on the computer screen and found that it really was midnight. Why did time pass by so fast? You can't keep the shop open a while longer? One of them asked. The truth was the system didn't set up strict business hours. However, Fang Chi really wanted to end the day. He shook his head while pointing at the blackboard and saying emotionlessly, "The rules are clearly written there. The shop closes at midnight." Li Shi and the others were unhappy about this. "Sir, there are so many people here. Can't we play for a little longer?" Play? Fang Chi glanced at them and knew that they were from prestigious families by their temperament and attires. "Do you usually play past midnight? Aren't you afraid that your families will file missing people reports with the city guards?" At this, their expressions changed. "Oh my gosh, do you think the curfew started in Juhua already? Darn it, darn it." Wang Tai stomped his feet and said, "Does this mean that I can't leave?" "Sir." They looked at Fang Chi, dejectedly. "We can't even leave this place now. Please show mercy and let us stay the night, will you?" Fang Chi was speechless. "Do these miners want to pull an all-nighter at my shop? Unfortunately, this internet cafe does not provide overnight services," he insisted. "You all look rich and are obviously not from ordinary families. At worst, you'll have to pay the city guards a fine. Fatty, you can sleep upstairs." Shu Ziqin just saw Fang Chi overcoming countless traps and learned his methods. "He is closing the shop just as I'm about to try them out myself?" She couldn't help but look at Fang Chi with blame in her eyes. "We watched you play for a really long time and barely played ourselves. Can't you let us play for just a little bit longer?" Fang Chi's face immediately darkened as he said, "I didn't accuse you of watching me and stealing my techniques, so why are you blaming me?" Shu Ziqin was so furious that she stuck out her long, pearly index finger and said, "Just for 1 more hour." Fang Chi replied, "Wait until the shop reopens in the morning." "You really want to do things the hard way, don't you?" Li Shi got mad. Song Qingfeng stopped him. "She!" Song Qingfeng only felt like this shop was mysterious before, but he now knew that they shouldn't mess with Fang Chi after watching him play. "You shouldn't act rashly," Song Qingfeng continued. "Also, feel your own strength." Strength. Li Shi and the other newcomers froze for a second upon hearing what he said. Then they sensed that their strengths had increased dramatically. "What's going on?" Their faces went from surprise to complete shock. Song Qingfeng glanced at Fang Chi and said, "I think the owner should explain this." Virtual reality. Fang Chi knew this would happen, so he immediately pointed at his computer screen and said, "Your levels will go up when you're playing the game. When that happens, your own strengths will increase a little as well." Then, he paused for a second before saying, "But because it's a virtual world, you can start over after you die." How is that possible? Everyone was shocked. It was already awesome enough that they could start over after dying. "This game can also increase my strength, but if you're in combat for too long and are too mentally stressed, it will be harmful to your bodies in real life," Fang Chi said from his own experience. "The rules in my shop aren't set for no reason. Fine." Shu Ziqin looked at Fang Chi bitterly before finally compromising. Then, she reluctantly left the shop. "We should go too," Song Qingfeng also said reluctantly. Li Si and the others knew that they had no other choice. "Let's go, let's go." Li Si dropped his head and sighed as he consoled himself. "It's just one night. Time will pass by quickly. This game is so exciting, I can't stop playing it." Li Shi said to his friends after the group of young men left Fang Chi's shop. It sure is, Lin Xiao replied in elation. I never would have imagined that a game like this existed. Oh, right. Ping, where did you get to? Did you see? The zombie dog? Someone said. And the people in the group turned their attention to the youngest boy. This boy nodded and replied, I did. While playing the game, Ping was horrified, but he also felt a little excited. As the young master of a rich family, he would probably wet his pants if he were surrounded by zombies like the ones in the game. But it was different in the game. Although he experienced the terror of the monsters, he didn't have to be scared, killed. A few, he added, admiring his own courage just now. This is how a warrior should behave, he thought. Not bad. Lin Xiao burst out laughing, forgetting that he was so scared by the zombie the first time that his face turned green and he almost threw up. I think the monsters the owner was killing were so much scarier, they chatted as they walked forward. I think they're called hunters, right? They're so powerful. Zombies just look scary, but their strength is nothing compared to the hunters. Oh, and zombies used to be humans. Song Qingfeng suddenly remembered that once he was bitten by a zombie and became one himself. I wonder what hunters used to be, he murmured. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm just jealous of that girl, Shulo complained. It's so unfair. Do you remember that shotgun? How many times did we fall dead at that trap? We all tried everything we could but couldn't even obtain one. Look at her. When she fell into that trap, her teammate saved her, and she got the gun. If we get that weapon along with the owner's magnum, I think we'll be able to survive later on in the game as well. I think so too. That gun isn't unattainable. Song Qingfeng rubbed his chin as sparks of wisdom appeared in his eyes. I thought it was just a trap, waiting for us to step into, but now it seems like Jill overcame that trap because she was saved. We can somehow defeat that trap too, right? They continued talking amongst themselves. They used to discuss martial arts before, but somehow all they talked about was Resident Evil now. Back at the internet cafe, Fang Chi quickly cleaned the place up thanks to the help of Wang Tai. Chi, will I be able to get the shotgun as well? After cleaning up, Wang Tai thought of the gun again and decided to ask since everyone else was gone. Of course, Fang Chi said. Playing as Jill is slightly easier, but the difference isn't that big. He didn't want to spoil the plot, but he was in a good mood and decided to give the fatty some pointers. Upon hearing what he said, Wang Tai's eyes lit up in delight. I got it. You're saying that if I find a broken shotgun in the mansion and replace it with the good one, I won't trigger the trap? He clapped and commented, It is such a good idea. How did you think of it? I didn't. Fang Chi smiled and replied, Something called a walkthrough did. Walkthrough? Wang Tai was confused. Juhua City was famous for its warriors. As a poem goes, there are 10,000 types of wines in Jiangnan, and there are countless warriors in Juhua. When those from this city encounter each other, they will sit down and enjoy a drink together. Next to their brave stallions, high towers and green willows stands. This poem described Juhua City perfectly. Yunshan Tavern. Taverns like this one existed all over Juhua City. Yunshan Tavern wasn't famous, but its prices were extremely reasonable. Most warriors enjoyed the occasional drinks, so they often invited their friends to enjoy a cup or two at this tavern while discussing events happening around the world. It was a popular form of entertainment here in Juhua. Naturally, warriors like Liang Shi, who weren't a part of any forces but were powerful, had a few like-minded friends. Shi, come, drink. They drank cups of wine one after another, demonstrating their warrior-like personalities. I wonder if anything big has happened in Juhua City recently. A 40-or-so-years-old man, who had a goatee and carried a long sword on his back, laughed aloud. My metal-chopping sword is becoming rusty. Ha ha ha, you're right. Another man with sideburns chimed in. Brother Liang, did you call us over today because you're in trouble? Or is it because you have a job for us? Then the same man patted his chest and declared, "Tell me what kind of trouble you're in." "We're all brothers, so you don't have to be so polite." Liang Shi made another toast to them before he replied with a smile. "You have mistaken, my brothers. I called the two of you here today to inform you of some news." "Is it, something good?" "It is." Then he began explaining Resident Evil to them. As soon as the people around them heard Liang Shi say that it was something good, they began eavesdropping and listening to him intently. Resident Evil? A game? You enter another world? No. One, including the eavesdroppers, understood what Liang Shi was talking about. The more he tried to explain, the more confused they got. It's like a world that exists in novels. "I hear what you're saying, but no matter how real these things seem, they're bound to be fake," the middle-aged man with a goatee said. "What you said made me curious, but neither of us are at a game-playing age anymore." Upon hearing this, Liang Shi shook his head. "This isn't just a fun game. I can't really explain the full benefits of it right now, but let's go try. I'm headed there right now. Would you like to come with me?" But his friends began to hesitate. They would go with him to do anything else. But to play games? How absurd. "Please don't take me wrong," Liang Shi explained upon seeing their hesitation. "I admit that this game is good, but it's extremely beneficial to a warrior's ki and fighting skills. If it weren't for that, I wouldn't have recommended it to the two of you." "Sure." After some thought, they nodded their heads. However, the man with the goatee added, "We don't have much to do, so we might as well go with you. But allow us to make things clear. We will just go there to watch. Young people games might not suit us." Liang Shi repeatedly nodded before. The three of them paid, got up, and left. It's so weird and mysterious. Upon seeing them leave, the eavesdropping warriors looked at each other and murmured, "What are zombies, handguns, and Alpha Team? Should we go with them?" The warriors glanced at each other. "Let's go." Ling Yun Academy was one of the 4 greatest academies in Dajin. Countless warriors and talented individuals gathered here to study, and numerous martial arts masters taught here. The academy's students are divided into 4 houses: Heaven, Earth, Xuan, and Huang. Newly admitted students were first placed into the Huang house. Then, they were divided into different classes according to their examination scores. Today was the first day of classes for new students. There were 40 students in Class A of the Huang house, and everyone in this class was among the top in the entrance examinations. They were the best of the best. Some students had already tempered their bodies and developed warrior ki, becoming real warriors. This class included Song Qingfeng. Being able to be in this class meant that he was a genius amongst geniuses, but he wasn't aware of that. During the break, the other students went to ask their mentors questions about training while Song Qingfeng and his friends sat back and began chit-chatting. "Qingfeng, if we imitate Jill's technique and find a teammate who will guard outside, will we be able to overcome that trap?" "No." Song Qingfeng immediately invalidated this suggestion. "I don't know if you two paid attention. Barry's gun looks similar to the shop owner's Magnum revolver but is more powerful. Regular teammates won't have weapons like that. The truth is, I found a young woman from Bravo team called Rebecca yesterday. She had a normal handgun," Song Qingfeng continued. "If this gun can break the trap, I'll just do it myself. Why would I rely on others?" "Brother Song, you found a teammate already?" Lin Xiao and Shu Luo exclaimed. "How did you find her? How is she compared to Barry?" "She's really gentle. Although she's not as strong as Barry, she can heal you when you're injured. She also knows where the zombie antidotes are hidden." "Brother Song, why didn't you say anything earlier?" The other's eyes emitted green light. A pretty girl was absolutely essential while adventure-seeking. The herbs and medicines that they used for healing were scarce, let alone blood. "Serums that cured zombie poison! I can't believe you hid this from us! Brother Song, tell me where I can find her!" The three of them chatted enthusiastically while the other students in the room listened in confusion. Suddenly, a young man in a yellow robe walked up and bowed at Song Ching Feng. "Brother Song, the Academy is revealing the rankings of all its students soon. Are you—" Before he could even finish, three pairs of eyes glared at him. "Not interested!" The yellow-robed boy looked awkward. Those who were accepted into Lingyun Academy were all extremely outstanding individuals. If one could make it onto the Heaven, Earth, Xuan, or Huang lists, he or she would not only become famous in the Jiangnan region, they would also be recognized by the Academy. How come Song Qingfeng and the others are not interested in it? He was in disbelief. What are zombies and hunters? Everyone understood the definition of these words, but no one knew what these words meant in this context. In addition to the yellow-robed young man, the others who wanted to be friends with Song Qingfeng all left in disappointment. They just couldn't join the group's conversation. Weird. Did something new happen in Juhua City that we don't know about? Students looked at each other, extremely curious as to what they were talking about. Shotguns and Bravo team were all words they've never heard of. The more they thought about it, the more interested they became. Someone declared, "Later on, I'm going to investigate and see if anything new happened in Juhua City. Zixin, you just came out of mediation. You probably don't know that the most popular novel right now, Celestial Warrior, came out with its 8th chapter." A girl wearing a green dress, about 17 or 18 years of age, walked in front of Shu Ziqin. The golden bell on her wrist chimed as she waved her arm back and forth. "Let's go buy it together now." Maybe later. Shu Ziqin shook her head. "Hey, Zixin, don't you like that novel?" Shu Ziqin smiled. In the past, she would have run over to buy it as soon as the novel came out, but now, to her, nothing could compare with Resident Evil. Moreover, novels were just for entertainment, and she would only read them during her days off. She had to focus on improving her fighting skills. By playing Resident Evil, she could train and be entertained at the same time. If you want to read it, you should go buy it. I found something more interesting yesterday. Something more interesting? The green-dressed girl tilted her head and looked at her. "What's that?" Shu Ziqin pointed in front of her. "We're here." Only then did the other girl realize that it was a small shop. But the shop wasn't open yet? Upon seeing this, Shu Ziqin's face turned grim. Didn't the owner say opening time is 8 a.m.? It was already 9 a.m. and the shop hadn't opened yet. Moreover, she also saw a bunch of people waiting outside the door. One of them was the tall, beefy warrior who gave her hints yesterday. She pointed at the door and asked, "Why isn't this shop open yet?" Liang Shi smiled bitterly. "I don't know either. It was like this when I got here." "What rotten luck!" The man with sideburns placed his hands on his waist. "I think we should just split this shop up with an axe." "Brother Wu, don't be so rash." Liang Shi immediately pulled his friend back. Wu Shan had a hot temper, so Liang Shi was truly scared that he would smash this shop. Indeed, the shop hadn't opened yet because Fang Qi just got out of bed. He shook his dizzy head back and forth before looking around his room. "Hey, where's Fatty? I think I heard him say—" He suddenly remembered that around 8 a.m., Wang Tai woke him up to tell him that he was going to Lingyun Academy. After hearing that, Fang Qi went straight back to sleep. After a short snooze, he looked at the clock and realized that it was almost 9 a.m. He quickly put on his clothes, washed his face, and brushed his teeth. It took him 20 minutes to get ready. Only then did he go downstairs and unlock the door of his internet cafe. When he did, he saw a few grim faces staring at him. Fang Qi took a few seconds to figure out what was going on. "Why are you here so early?" he asked the 5 people outside his shop. "Early?" Everyone's faces darkened even more. "Are you the owner of this shop?" The middle-aged man with sideburns took a few steps forward and stood in front of Fang Qi. His eyes were squinted, and he was emitting dangerous energies. I am, Fang Chi replied in a confused manner. I didn't offend this person. Why is he looking at me with such animosity? Brother Wu, let's play the game first. Let's play the game first. Liang Shi quickly pulled him back and explained. My brother, Wu Shan, has a hot temper, so please don't get mad at him, shop owner. Let's go inside. The man with the goatee patted Wu Shan's shoulder and said quietly, Let's go in and see first. Don't make it hard for Brother Liang. Only then did Wu Shan reluctantly stop what he was doing. If I find out that I waited this long for a place that runs scams on its customers, don't blame me if I smash this shop into pieces. Brother Wu, we said that countless times. Liang Shi wasn't surprised at all as he pulled on Wu Shan, who was still waving his weapon in the air. Let's go in and play first. You opened really late today, Shu Ziqin said as she was a little unhappy, but Fang Chi only shrugged nonchalantly and replied, I was too tired yesterday. What's so good about this shop? We waited outside for half an hour. The girl in green who came with Shu Ziqin complained. Just then, Liang Shi and Shu Ziqin's eyes lit up upon seeing the inside of the shop. Originally, they were worried that there wouldn't be enough computers for everyone to play on, but there were 11 computers in the shop, all placed in an orderly fashion. There are so many, Shu Ziqin yelled in surprise. I got some last night, Fang Chi replied. He wasn't going to tell the others that his system performed another upgrade on his internet cafe last night. No wonder you opened late today. The people outside the door finally understood why Fang Chi overslept and didn't blame him anymore. Liang Shi even apologized to Fang Chi. I'm really sorry you got so many, computers. It must have taken a long time and some hard work. It was obvious that he was still unfamiliar with the word computer. Fang Chi wasn't tired because his system was in charge of everything. But upon hearing what Liang Shi said, he had no choice but to nod. It's fine. Then, Liang Shi and Shu Ziqin both sat down and opened Resident Evil. Ziqin, go ahead and play first, the girl who came with Shu Ziqin said in disappointment. Her anticipation immediately disappeared upon seeing how small this shop was. The two men behind Liang Shi also said, We'll watch first as well. Maybe it's just a method of deception. Brother Liang, you shouldn't let yourself be tricked. A man in a stylish, dark purple robe followed a man in black all the way to Fang Chi's internet cafe. Are you sure Ziqin would come to a place like this? This man, with the extremely handsome face, asked. Young Master Shui, I swear it's true. The man in black said in a low voice, My people saw her with their own eyes. Why would Ziqin come here by herself rather than practice her skills at Ling Yun Academy? I don't know about that, the man in black replied awkwardly. The handsome man opened the door and walked in. As expected, he saw Shu Ziqin sitting on the seat closest to him. Then he took out a delicate box from his inside pocket and walked up to her. He cleared his throat before calling out her name. Ziqin! No response. He called her again. Ziqin! Only then did Shu Ziqin hear someone calling her. She turned around, but her expression changed immediately upon seeing that it was him. Why are you here? Why are you at a place like this? Oh, and why didn't you tell me that you left the martial arts tower? The handsome man replied awkwardly upon hearing her question, but he still handed her the little box in his hand. This is a Tianxin elixir. It's extremely good for your warrior ki. I wanted to give you one as soon as I got them yesterday. I'm not obligated to tell you when I leave the martial arts tower and where I go afterwards, Shu Ziqin replied. This man followed her everywhere like a fly. Upon hearing this, the handsome man's face became even more awkward. I'm worried about you. The handsome man was obviously agitated as he pointed around the room. Look at all these people here. How can I let you stay at a broken-down shop like this? What does this place even do? What are you calling broken down for? Shui Ming, let me tell you, you don't have the right to boss me around just because our families are close. Xu Zichin's face darkened. If it weren't for this shop, she would have never broken through. Leave now! Xue Ming froze for a second, not sure why Xu Zichin was kicking him out like that. Although her temper wasn't good, she never treated him like this. Zixin, but you really shouldn't call me. Zixin, leave! Oh, and I can't accept something as costly as a Tianxin elixir. You should save it for yourself. Forget it, Zixin. Why would you get mad at a man like him? The girl beside Xu Zixin said. Just ignore him. Only then did Xu Zixin snort and return to her seat. Then she said to Fang Qi, Sir, please kick this person out. Ming was completely dumbstruck. What is going on? Moreover, why is Shen Qingqing here as well? Fang Qi was confused as well. What on earth is happening? You're the owner of this shop? The handsome man finally noticed Fang Qi. Upon realizing that Xu Zixin had asked the owner to kick him out, his expression darkened. This is a private matter between us. I suggest you stay out of it, or else your run-down, dingy shop will not exist for very long. You must be mistaken, Fang Qi said in all seriousness. I just have one thing to say. Our shop is actually very high-end. It's not run-down or dingy. Upon hearing this, the handsome man began laughing as if he just heard a funny joke. He looked at Fang Qi up and down and sneered. Do you even know what high-end means? Then he glanced at the blackboard by the door and added, Do you think you're high-end just because you charge more? You're so ignorant. Although I don't know your definition of this word, Fang Qi said as he pointed at the computer behind him and said, Back in my hometown, there's something called low-key luxury. Low-key luxury? Xu Ming carefully thought about the meaning behind these words. The vocabulary sounds new and interesting, but this is just a small shop in the corner of the city, isn't it? What is so special about this place? Why don't you tell me how this place is low-key luxurious then? Only then did the handsome man notice the screen in front of Xu Zixin. What is she doing? Is she watching something? Instead of practicing her skills, she came here to watch this, he thought. She's not watching anything. Fang Qi replied. She's playing a game. Playing? The handsome man looked at Fang Qi in confusion. Fang Qi laughed and asked, What's Ms. Zhu's relationship to you? Do you like her? At the mention of this, the man straightened his back and said proudly, My family and Zixin's family are close, and we both study at Lingyun Academy. We are a perfect match for each other. Fang Qi almost laughed. A girl like Xu Zixin definitely had a lot of people pursuing her, and this man seemed to be one of them. Therefore, he patted the man's shoulder and said, Young man, that's not how you pick up girls. Pick up girls? Xue Ming didn't understand what Fang Qi was talking about. Anyways, you have to develop the same hobbies as her, Fang Qi said as he pointed at Xu Zichin's monitor. This? Xue Ming snickered. What's so good about this? There's a famous saying in my hometown, You're not a fish, so how can you understand its happiness? Fang Qi answered, You're not her, so how do you know if she likes it or not? Upon hearing this, Xue Ming thought about it for a while before exclaiming in his mind, What a deep principle. Could the owner be an extraordinary individual? If you get her to admire you through her hobby, then her future is in your hands. Fang Qi saw Xue Ming thinking and decided to strike while the iron was hot. You just failed to acknowledge her hobby and even criticized her. Anyone would be mad at that. Trying to pick up girls like that isn't going to work. Upon hearing this, Xue Ming's eyes lit up as he gave Fang Qi a thumb up. Listening to you speak is equivalent to reading books for 10 years. What you say makes so much sense. Then, Fang Qi opened Resident Evil and put the virtual reality headset on Xue Ming. Feel it for yourself. Of course, remember to pay. Resident Evil. The screen darkened. Suddenly, Xue Ming felt like everything around him was in such close proximity, as if he could touch everything before him. He felt like he had entered the world on his screen. Unlike the world that he lived in right now, there were all sorts of weapons he had never seen before and horrific zombies he had never encountered before. Dangers were everywhere, immediately piquing his interest. He finally understood what Fang Chi meant by playing. Is this really just a game? Didn't you already die several times? If you weren't playing a game, how did you come back to life? Right, right, Shui Ming nodded in excitement. This is really a game. As a prestigious man of a wealthy family, he was fit to play games that no one else heard of or ever thought about. This really is a low-key luxury. Watch me kill everything here. Then Zexin will fall in love with me for sure. Upon seeing Shui Ming's expression, Fang Chi couldn't help but shake his head. He's so easy to trick. But Fang Chi touched his nose. Playing this game isn't trickery, right? Then Fang Chi saw a couple of people sneaking around outside. His shop. Should we go in? A warrior wearing a set of black armor said in a low voice. They've been inside for so long and haven't come out yet. Should we go in as well? Look, someone else went in. Soon, 6 more people came to the internet cafe. They were 4 young boys and 2 girls, all 16 or 17 years old. The young boy standing in the front said, Song Qingfeng and the others mentioned Origins a couple of times. I did some investigation, and this is the only shop with this name. They looked around at the people who were already sitting down. There was a screen in front of each customer, and the contents on the screens moved. It was extremely weird. What does this shop do? They watched for a while, but still had no idea what this place did. This shop was different from any other shop they've been to. Confused, the group had no choice but to call the owner. The tyrant threw Wesker's body away like trash, shocking everyone who was watching Fang Chi's screen. Wesker died? Song Qingfeng exclaimed, dumbstruck by what he just saw. He died, just like that? Lin Xiao and the others were at a loss for words as well. They were all shocked by the fact that the villain died in the hands of this monster, just like that, giving them a sense of ineffable pressure. However, Fang Chi had no time to explain to them the plot of the game. Without thinking, he took out his shotgun. While the tyrant was killing Wesker, Fang Chi aimed at it and fired multiple shots. To Fang Chi's disappointment, only one shot hit the tyrant, who quickly used its giant claws to protect its heart. The powerful bullet only left a small mark on its claws. Covering its heart with its claws, the tyrant walked forward slowly. A shotgun was not enough to injure it. The tyrant in front of them was like a heavy tank that slowly approached its enemy. It didn't have to attack to make the player feel pressured. Normal handguns couldn't hurt the tyrant, and shotguns had to be fired in close proximity for it to be effective. Therefore, it was extremely dangerous to fight the tyrant with a shotgun. Fang Chi bent down and watched as it moved. At that moment, Fang Chi noticed that the tyrant raised its arm slightly. He rolled back instinctively and felt a strong wind breezing past his back. The place Fang Chi originally stood on was turned into shambles. The machines and equipment came crashing down, and claw marks were left deep into the metal surface. In the original game, the surroundings could not be destroyed. Therefore, the player could walk around the research lab to dodge the tyrant's attacks. However, in this version, the tyrant was able to smash the research lab in half with only one strike. A ton of green liquid fell onto the ground, making the glossy floor as wet and slippery as it could be. The player had no way of avoiding it. A series of gasps sounded behind Fang Chi. What a horrific attack! This attack is equivalent to that of a master warrior. That was just a casual attack. If it had more agility, master warriors wouldn't be able to defeat it either. He's fighting a monster who is equivalent to a master warrior? A bunch of people huddled behind Fang Chi, even those who were playing themselves, including Shu. Zixian and Liang Shi exited their game to watch Fang Chi play. He may have a powerful gun, but the owner is a bit overconfident, don't you think? They discussed. Imagine what would happen if that attack landed on the player instead of the equipment in the research lab. Fang Qi exhaled deeply. If he didn't avoid that attack fast enough, he would have instantly died. The tyrant was even more powerful than he imagined. It was tall and beefy. With one giant step, it caught up to Fang Qi and swung its claws at him again. Fang Qi didn't dare to relax. He quickly created distance between him and the tyrant before he pulled the trigger of his shotgun without even aiming. The shotgun's power wasn't that strong when the distance wasn't close. It wasn't even capable of stopping the tyrant for a second, allowing it to quickly catch up to Fang Qi. "I'll have to kite it around." Fang Qi squinted his eyes as he experienced the tyrant's close combat skills. Therefore, he had no choice but to keep a safe distance from it, employing a kiting strategy so that he wouldn't get hurt. The tyrant in the original game would die after being kited around, for a while by an experienced player. However, even though the virtual reality remake of the game made the tyrant bulkier, there were so many things it could do other than simple attacks. The tyrant put its claws in front of its heart as it slowly walked toward Fang Qi again. It may be better if they had more space, but there wasn't enough room for combat in the research lab. Therefore, the tyrant was going to force Fang Qi into a corner, sooner or later. The owner's in trouble. Song Qingfeng's eyes narrowed as he observed what was happening. This place is so small, there's nowhere to hide. Not even a real master warrior would fight this monster face to face like this. The owner is at a real disadvantage. This thing looks so powerful, only an idiot would fight it head-on, Lin Xiao chimed in. Wu Shan and that middle-aged man with the goatee had the most experience in the group. They looked at each other and shook their heads before saying, "It's too big. Fighting it in close combat would be equivalent to looking for death. Plus, if the player chooses Chris, he wouldn't be able to use his warrior key. The owner is good at this game, but this last monster is too powerful." Everyone watching issued Fang Qi the death penalty. Just then, the tyrant slowly raised its giant claws. Chris would not be able to survive this strike, no matter how strong he was. Just as his life was hanging by a thread, Fang Qi took this opportunity to suddenly load his shotgun and run toward the tyrant. His actions shocked everyone. Wasn't he running to his death? Upon seeing Fang Qi run up to it, a blood-hungry expression appeared on the tyrant's face as it suddenly reached out its giant claws. "Now's my chance!" Fang Qi's eyes shone as he lowered his body, sliding straight between the tyrant's legs. Then he swiftly turned around and fired his shotgun. Bam! 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 Fang Qi, who was now behind the tyrant, made multiple shots with his shotgun, each shot injuring the tyrant's vital spots. He avoided it. Everyone was surprised by how Fang Qi successfully pulled himself out of this stalemate in such a smart way. They knew that Fang Qi didn't rely on his warrior techniques. Rather, he waited for the right time, perfectly manipulating his enemy and utilizing the terrain to his advantage. In a nutshell, he was skilled. He had incredible combat skills. How is that possible? The owner is so freaking awesome. Yun, the owner is really good. He's much better than your brother, a young girl said quietly as she watched Fang Qi play. Zixin, why is the owner playing differently from you? Shen Qingqing suddenly said, as she was now standing behind Fang Qi's seat out of nowhere. The owner is too good. Xu Zixin's face was filled with admiration. She didn't think he was that good. What's so good about that? I can do it too. Upon hearing Xu Zixin's praise, Xueming muttered under his breath. What do you know? Xu Zixin rolled, her eyes at Xueming. If you choose Chris, you won't be able to use your warrior key. Do you have the guts to give it a go without your key? You can't use key? Dumbstruck, Xueming stared at Fang Qi's screen. Can an ordinary person go this far in the game? Although a gun was available, no matter how fast a normal person's reaction speed was, he or she wouldn't be able to survive a fight with an opponent of this speed, power, and level. Without precise calculations, the player would die almost instantly upon encountering the tyrant. What do you think? Xu Ziqin finally retorted angrily. I am extremely talented. I will reach this level soon. Shui Ming immediately said confidently. Keep tooting your own horn! Just then, someone cried out in alarm. They saw the tyrant kneeling onto the ground, but the injuries on its body were writhing non-stop. What's going on? It was obvious that Fang Qi's attack brought upon changes. To the tyrant. This change shocked everyone as they felt like their hearts were hanging at their throats again. It's not dead yet? How could it still be alive after being shot by the shotgun? This monster sure is filled with vigor. It was horrific. Upon seeing the tyrant's current conditions, a bad feeling crept up their minds. Fang Qi knew what the tyrant's changes meant. Second form. In the original game, the tyrant would only evolve to the second form after being hit until it faked its death. Fang Qi wanted to try to explode its head when it faked death, but now he had no choice but to get closer and try his best to kill it. He fired a couple of shots and realized that the injuries on the tyrant's body writhed even more. Meat sprouts even grew on its injuries. Under such circumstances, the tyrant's defense and recovery powers became stronger than ever. Without hesitation, Fang Qi used up all his bullets, but still couldn't injure it, let alone kill it. The system not only made the game more realistic, it also made the monsters more powerful as well. There weren't obvious loopholes that Fang Qi could take advantage of. With a grim expression on his face, Fang Qi knew from the beginning that the tyrant was going to be hard to kill. With his current powers and weapons, he wouldn't be able to kill it before it transformed into its second form. Run away! Right now, he could only run away. Without hesitation, Fang Qi quickly ran out of the research lab. Once it evolved, he wouldn't even be able to escape. Are you not fighting it anymore? The others watched as Fang Qi and his teammates ran, out like crazy. They weren't about to stop. Just then, an eardrum-shattering howl sounded. The howl was so loud that the ground shook, surprising everyone who was watching. Fang Qi, they underestimated the tyrant. Then a series of hurried, heavy footsteps sounded from behind. The tyrant had caught up to Fang Qi. This time, its speed was faster than ever. Hurry up and go! Fang Qi's face darkened as he urged his teammates toward the elevator. This wasn't the original game, so the tyrant's actions were closer to reality. It could do so much more. Everyone in the game was a member of the Special Forces, so no, one was a burden. They all rushed into the elevator and it quickly began to move. The tyrant was located on the 4th level of the basement, so the group quickly got to the ground level using this elevator. Look at what the owner is doing, Fang. Qi took out a small box and pressed the yellow button on it. Quickly, a signal flare soared into the sky. This was supposed to be triggered automatically, but Fang Qi had to do it himself in the virtual reality remake. He was well prepared, so all of his actions were swift and natural without a speck of hesitation. It was as if he knew that he couldn't waste any time. At the same time, the ground below Fang Qi began shaking furiously and a giant hole appeared. Is it the tyrant? It caught up. How is that possible? There are 4 floors. Then, as if it was answering their question, a horrific shadow suddenly jumped up from the hole as everyone watched in disbelief. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. Fang Qi knew the plot so well that he controlled everything with extreme precision. 1 second slower and he might not even have the chance to send a signal flare. Brother Wu, if it were you, what do your chances of winning? Would be? Liang Shi, with a grim expression, asked the man with sideburns. Before, my chance of winning would probably be 70 to 80%. Wu Shan's expression darkened. Now, next to impossible. The monster's attack, defense, recovery ability, and speed had advanced so much that it was terrifying. It was a perfect monster that couldn't be defeated. Wu Shan was the most skilled warrior of the group. If he didn't think he could beat it, how could the others? The tyrant was famous for a reason. It was too powerful. What would their faces look like if they found out that this was just a first generation? Trial tyrant? Fang Qi took a deep breath before finally taking out his Magnum revolver. Magnum revolvers were powerful, enough to injure the enemy from a safe distance. However, no matter how experienced he was, Fang Qi only found a total of 12 Magnum rounds throughout the game. Now he only had a couple bullets left. Fang Chi pulled the trigger, shooting his giant bullets at the tyrant. However, this attack seemed to be like a needle in the ocean, failing to make an impact. His teammates fired as well, but the normal bullets were useless. The owners almost out of bullets. Out of the people watching, Song Ching-feng was the most experienced with the game. He was also the one who knew the consequences of not having any more bullets. Upon hearing what Song Ching-feng said, the others all became worried for Fang Chi. Moreover, they saw the tyrant charging toward Fang Chi with all its might. It was huge, but still had great agility. It was capable of crushing the weak. Will Fang Chi be able to dodge its attack again? Everyone became worried as they watched him. Right now, Fang Chi was extremely calm. He chose Chris because of his combat skills. Although he was not even at the peak of the body forging realm, after all these days of familiarizing himself with Chris's combat skills, he slowly absorbed what he learned, making it his own. Moreover, he used hunters to train himself, and their methods of attack were extremely similar to that of the tyrant. Both types of monsters like to claw, rip, charge, and throw themselves onto their enemies. His level was higher than everyone. In the shop, he was level 23. Therefore, his combat ability couldn't be calculated through ordinary methods. Fang Chi leaped high into the air before stepping on the wall to his right. His body arched out as he avoided the tyrant by a centimeter, allowing him to pull the trigger on the Magnum revolver again. He fired 3 shots right into the back of the tyrant's heart. Even with its defense, the tyrant couldn't stand being attacked continuously by something so powerful. It stumbled as fresh blood spurted out of the gunshot wounds. "You're so awesome, sir. How can he still be alive under such circumstances? Is the owner still human? Fighting a monster like this without using his warrior ki?" The people behind Fang Chi stared at him in disbelief, shocked that he was able to once again avoid the tyrant's attack. They didn't think he could make it thus far without using his ki. Even if he lost this battle, he should still be proud of himself. "You all didn't see how the owner used only a dagger to kill the hunters." Lin Xiao blabbed on behind Fang Chi. "He killed them so swiftly." "He used a dagger. Isn't he afraid of getting infected?" "He's a little overconfident, don't you think?" Lin Xiao's remarks caused an uproar amongst the crowd again. "He has no more bullets!" Song Ching-feng suddenly pointed out something crucial. The truth was, after playing the game for so long, they slowly understood the world that the game was in. Humans didn't have ki, so they invented various powerful weapons to fight their enemies. When they had ammunition, they could easily kill countless enemies. However, without these weapons and ammunition, the situation would become extremely awkward. Moreover, fighting monsters with a dagger in close combat was not a good option. If the player didn't pay close attention, his or her body would be immediately torn into pieces. It was too hard. Even though they were only looking at the scene behind Fang Chi, they felt the intensity and goosebumps appeared all over their bodies. Fang Chi ran towards the opposite direction of the tyrant. At the moment, the tyrant kneeled on the ground, unable to catch up to Fang Chi for the time being. But he was out of bullets. Chris was just an ordinary man without ki. How could he fight? A monster like that without a gun? Forget it. We don't have to watch anymore. Although Fang Chi created enough distance between himself and the tyrant, the others all watched in despair. "The tyrant is too powerful." Zhu Ziqin shook her head and sighed. "I don't think Chris can pass this level. I think I might have to switch Jill out later as well." Song Ching-feng exclaimed as well. "It seems like Chris is just there to help us familiarize ourselves with the game. The owner can't even pass the level. The Umbrella Corporation has the ability to create so many powerful monsters." The sound of a helicopter suddenly resonated in the sky as a voice sounded. Fang Chi began waving his hands at the helicopter before the tyrant had a chance to catch up. He was excited. Someone threw a long, rectangular box from the helicopter, and Fang Chi rolled over to quickly pick it up. "I got it!" Elated, Fang Chi ran toward the opposite direction. He wasn't running away. Instead, he needed time to obtain this item before the tyrant could attack again. What's he doing? The audience, who lost hope in Fang Chi and were turning around to leave, were confused by what he was doing. What is that? They stared at the black rectangular box curiously. They saw 4 circular barrels sticking out from the black box. Both the metal glare of the barrels and the silver barrels themselves emitted a domineering power. Fang Chi put it on his shoulder. When the tyrant charged toward him, he didn't waver. Instead, he pulled the trigger. Swoop! A rocket shot out from one of the barrels. The rocket was as thick as Chris's arm. With its long tail flame, it dashed forward along with a loud noise. The tyrant seemed to have sensed danger and immediately protected its heart with its strong claws. Then came a giant boom, and the ground began to shake. Countless specks of flesh exploded along with the flames, and a wave of hot air forced Fang. "Cheeto, back off a few steps. One shot, right into the soul." Satisfied, Fang Chi turned the barrels around and blew the non-existent smoke off it. His shirt was soaked through. "It's good that I've practiced before." Fang Chi laughed as he let out a sigh of relief. The internet cafe fell silent, so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. No one thought that the ordinary-looking black box in Fang Chi's hands could be so horrifyingly powerful. This was the power of a modern weapon. Compared to cold weapons like daggers, modern weapons focused more on results. This was an extremely beautiful explosion. It was the ultimate romance for men. They all stared at the screen and watched as Fang Chi launched the rocket. Everyone, even master warriors, ancestral warriors, and great cultivators, will be left in awe when faced with a weapon like this, they all thought. With the rocket launcher on his shoulder, Chris got onto the helicopter with his teammates. The Nightmare Mansion, now below them, subsequently blew up into pieces. His teammates were exhausted. Rebecca had fallen asleep while Jill rested her head on Chris's shoulder. The sun seeped through the clouds, shining on Chris's sharp jawline and slightly bloody face. At that moment, the audience seemed to have seen God. He was so manly and domineering. Is this the end of Resident Evil 1? They've looked forward to it for so long, and they finally saw it. The helicopter flew into the blue sky, leaving them an extremely magnificent ending scene. No matter how fun a game was, it was not fun all the time. Fighting the hunters was hard, solving the mysteries was difficult, battling for too long was exhausting, and being stuck on one level was depressing. However, upon seeing this, they realized that it was all worth it. Not everyone could call themselves a hero, but that didn't mean they had any less ambition. Because of that, this scene was extremely valuable and treasured. It fulfilled the ambitions and heroism in everyone's heart, to perfection. Before, they were wondering how to pass the game. Now they finally understood how to play it. The ending scene was so cool, they were nothing compared to Fang Chi. They watched as the helicopter disappeared into the sky. It didn't matter if it was a veteran like Song Ching Feng who had played for a while or the newbies. No one could calm themselves down. Everyone had been looking forward to this scene, and they finally saw it unfold before them. Then, their complicated gazes landed on Fang Chi, who exited the game as the ending music sounded. He turned around and was surprised by what he saw. "Why are you all huddled up here? Sir, you're so mighty. You're a real man. I feel like I just saw a novel play before my eyes. No, it was an epic documentary. This is what men are supposed to do." The beefy man, Liang Shi, exclaimed as his blood boiled in excitement. "You can get this far?" Song Ching Feng muttered to himself as he clenched his fist. "The owner's really cool." Shi Xiaoyun, who just came today, said, "After seeing him play, the game doesn't look so scary anymore. Should we try later?" "That weapon reminds me of the spiritual artifacts of cultivators." The man with the sideburns couldn't help but comment, "I really want to try it for myself. If I have a weapon like that, I'll never be afraid." "Of cultivators!" "Zixin!" Shen Qingqing called out in anticipation. "I want to play too. Can you teach me?" "I thought you said that you didn't want to play." Furious, Xu Zixin stared at her friend. She wasted so much time trying to convince Shen Qing, and now she wanted to play? The game doesn't look that good when you're playing it. Shen Qing laughed and said, "The owner made the game seem much more fun." Zhu Zixin's pretty face fell as she wondered why her friend thought she didn't make the game look good. "Did you even understand my complicated footwork when I tried to avoid the zombie dogs?" she thought. "Sir, how did you do that? Let us try." "Two!" At some point, the three warriors in black huddled behind the crowd. "Blackie, why are you here?" Wu Shan's expression darkened upon seeing them. "If you can come, so can we." The man called Blackie burst out in laughter. Minutes later, "Hey, so I'm the main character of this game? I'm going to find all the bad guys hiding in here. You can't scare me? Ha 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 ha. These little brats can't beat me down. After I find all the treasures in here, I'm going to flip this place upside down. When all four masks fall into place, evil will awaken. Look at what I found. Will this book of curses contain the answers to the conspiracy behind the scenes?" Speechless, Fang Qi looked at his internet cafe, which had once again reached full capacity, and said, "Okay, you all can take over and save the world now." Soon, it was noon. Fang Qi rubbed his empty belly and was wondering if he should go out and buy himself some food to eat. However, before he could even get up, a bunch of people surrounded him. "What are you all doing?" "Sir, do you take disciples?" 100 to take disciples, 3,000 to teach you everything, and it's extra to play for you. "Oh, remember to buy some shredded pork biscuits for me." Fang Qi randomly answered. TL. This is a catchphrase used by a lot of gamers in China when playing online games. I'm sorry, force of habit." Fang Qi touched his nose awkwardly and said, "Don't tell me you are all here to be my disciples. What was the weapon you used in the end? Can we obtain it as well? How are these weapons made? Do weapons like this really exist? How do you feel after passing the level, sir? What do you plan to do after this? This game isn't over, right? Is there Resident Evil 2? Quiet down. Ask your questions one by one, okay?" Fang Qi felt like there were 10,000 flies flying around him, giving him a headache. "I'll start with the first question," Fang Qi replied. "The last weapon is called a rocket launcher. You can obtain it as long as you use Chris or Jill and injure the tyrant enough, so it advances to the second form. Then, can we make a weapon like that?" Zhu Zixin looked at Fang Qi with excitement in her eyes. If she could make a weapon like that in real life, even a regular warrior would be able to fight against powerful cultivators. Amused, Fang Qi looked at her with a smile. He wanted to tell her that it was just a game. But since those things really existed, he nodded and explained. "Of course, I think it's possible to mimic a weapon like this. But the theoretical knowledge that is required to make it happen is extremely complex." "Really?" Zhu Zixin frowned. Although her family held prestige in Juhua City, hiring a cultivator to research and make a weapon like this still required careful consideration. What about Resident Evil 2? What is going to happen to the Umbrella Corporation? She couldn't wait to find out the next plot. It was obvious that Wesker was just a member of the Umbrella Corporation, and this mansion wasn't Umbrella's headquarters. Therefore, what would the main character's fates be like? Would Umbrella plot more conspiracies? "There's no Resident Evil 2 at the moment," Fang Qi replied with a smile. "There's no Resident Evil 2? The group was disappointed. "Then when will we know? I think Resident Evil 1 movie version should be here soon. You'll be able to see what happens to the Umbrella Corporation then." Movie version? No one knew what this new vocabulary meant. "What's a movie?" "You'll know when you see it." "When is that?" They all knew that the name of the game they were playing right now was Resident Evil 1, Virtual Reality Remake, and what Fang Qi mentioned was Resident Evil 1, movie version. What was the difference between the two? When Fang Qi began playing this morning, early birds began as well. By the time Fang Qi passed the game, they were all behind him, watching. Newcomers like Blackie took this opportunity and found empty spots to begin playing. No wonder everyone's talking about this shop. This game is amazing. Why can't I kill the zombies? I think the owner hit their heads. Try the head. Whoa! This trap almost got me. Seeing these newbies trying to kill zombies in a hectic manner, specks of pride appeared on Song Ching-feng's face. It's our turn, Song Ching-feng declared passionately. He was one of the earliest customers of the internet cafe, so his progress was more advanced than the others. He was midway through the game. Wait for it. I'm going to kill hunters today. After seeing Fang Chi killing hunters with his dagger, Song Ching-feng began imitating him by using a dagger as well. On the screen, Song Ching-feng's character held a dagger in his hand and diligently bent down. Across from him, it was a zombie, with its back against him. He didn't see hunters yet, so he decided to kill zombies first to get himself warmed up. He's using just a dagger? He's imitating the owner and trying to kill zombies with a dagger? The owner used his dagger and killed the hunters with such ease. Shu Zixin's expression lit up upon seeing this. I'm going to try tomorrow as well. The players whose time limits were up still didn't get enough of the game, so they decided to watch the others play. Talented young men who held high statuses like Song Ching-feng, Lin Xiao, and Xu Luo were used to being admired by others and stared at wherever they went. However, for some reason, ever since they began playing this game, they enjoyed being watched and fawned over. Let's try our best, Song Ching-feng muttered quietly to the others. Let's become the second group of people to kill hunters. He saw how Fang Chi killed zombies in a split second. Therefore, he quietly went up to the zombie from the back and stabbed its temple before furiously churning his dagger. He's not bad, the people behind him exclaimed as they saw the zombie fall dead onto the floor. There are so many traps in this room. It's so annoying. Wang Tai was one of the earliest players of Resident Evil 1. Although his daily game time was, on average, 2 hours less than Fang Chi, his progress still came out on top. There were already a few people who reached their daily limit standing behind him. They saw a shotgun in Wang Tai's hands. Look, how did he get a shotgun? They exclaimed. Someone obtained a shotgun? Song Ching-feng glanced over at Wang Tai and said to his buddies, We need to hurry up. My character is next to that room. Let me go try, Lin Xiao said. Let's work together and try to pass the game before anyone else does. Okay, I, Song Ching-feng, owe you each a favor. Zixin, how do I play this? Shen Qing-qing was more casual when it came to playing games. After she started, she only looked around curiously. That's simple. Go over there first to kill a zombie. Shu Zixin smiled as she helped her friend, feeling proud of herself. I will teach you from my own experience. Resident Evil was a classic game. With Fang Chi's system's black technology, the originally small and quiet shop became quite popular. After the day ended, Fang Chi looked at how much he made. With 11 computers, he made almost 300 crystals today. 300 more, and he would have completed his task. 100 crystals a day was an income that he didn't even dare to imagine in the past. Although the system only gave him 10%, he still made more than a dozen crystals in one day. Adjusted to the prices and purchasing powers in this world, one crystal was equivalent to several tens of thousands of yuan in his previous life. TL, around $10,000 US. It seems like I'm going to become one of the richest people in this world soon, Fang Chi thought enthusiastically. He could see himself buying the most prosperous land in every city and opening internet cafes everywhere. He would turn the local area network into a real internet. Suddenly, Fang Chi received a notification from his system. You have received a gift from the system. The host is now a qualified internet cafe owner. This gift is a reward, and the host should continue the hard work. A gift? You're usually so stingy. What happened? Elated, Fang Chi quickly opened the gift. One perfect T-virus without side effects. T-virus without side effects? No side effects. This was unbelievable. He remembered that the main female lead, Alice, obtained supernatural powers after injecting herself with a T-virus that had no side effects in the Resident Evil movie version. Did the system just give him the same one that Alice got? This is so freaking awesome, he thought.